Hello and welcome to the MBOM podcast, where you will learn to master the business of yoga with guests from around the world who have experienced becoming successful yoga teachers, studio owners, and much more. Now, here's your host, Amanda Kingsmith.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the MBOM podcast. I'm really excited for today's episode. I've got a yoga teacher who was actually the first yoga teacher that I ever practiced with when I arrived in Atlanta, Georgia. And since then, I've practiced with her and taught with her at a couple different studios in Atlanta. She's just so personable, so high energy, and she's somebody that I've really admired the entire time I've been down here. And I've been really grateful that I've had the opportunity to get to know her. And we actually recorded a podcast episode a couple months ago. She was working a full-time corporate job and working about 45 hours a week and then teaching upwards of 12 classes a week. And she did that from December 2015 until she quit her job in March. And I was just like, wow, that is so crazy that you did that. And, you know, it's this massive sacrifice that she made to follow her dreams. And once she quit her job, we talked about collaborating and we got down and we recorded something. And it was the first time that I've ever lost a podcast episode. My boyfriend, Ryan, and I, who he interviewed me a couple episodes ago, we are just past 100 episodes on our podcast, and I'm on just past 20 with this podcast. And I've never lost a podcast episode before. So if anybody's a fellow podcaster out there, it really sucks to tell your guests that you lost their episode or that their episode's gone. So make sure you back things up. That was a big learning lesson for me. Technology is amazing till it's not, and it's really easy to make mistakes like that. I'm really, really grateful, though, because my special guest, Caron Christison, was really kind enough to redo the episode with me. And it's really fun because the conversation was different. She's been a full-time yoga teacher for a little bit longer now, so the perspective was slightly different. And I think that there's a lot of valuable stuff that you can get out of it, especially if you're working full time and you're teaching a little bit and you're really wanting to make that jump. A lot of really tangible things and good pieces of advice. And of course, Caron's just an absolute joy to talk to. So hopefully you enjoy the podcast episode. And once again, thanks so much to Caron for being so flexible with me and just so understanding and amazing. All right, here's Caron. All right, I've got Caron here with me today, right in front of me, which is super awesome. I love interviewing people face to face, and it's so rare that I actually get to do it. So thank you for being here. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, hey, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Do you want to start by telling me how you got into yoga?
Yeah, definitely. So I've been doing yoga for about 3.5 years now. I had started doing it just as a way to really connect with people. I had been moving around a lot with my ex-husband and was in a new city and having a really hard time just meeting people. Also, I've struggled with my weight and everything for a long time, and I was sick of going to the gym and sick of feeling so isolated on the treadmill or the elliptical or whatever, and really wanted to be able to meet some new people, get that connection, and find a good way to stay in shape that kept me motivated. And I had been doing a couple of DVDs at home, so then I went to a studio for the first time about 3.5 years ago and just fell in love with it pretty instantly. I started going out maybe once a week, and then it was twice a week, and then all of a sudden it was every day, and then next thing you knew, I'm signing up for teacher training. So it was one of those things that just caught on as soon as I started.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love hearing stories like that where it's like, never really tried it before, and then you tried and you just keep doing it more and more, and you're like, I kind of love this.
Yeah, definitely. And it really was like that for me, for sure. It just, something about it, and at first I didn't know what it was. It was more the physical focus, you know, and since I had been a cheerleader back in the day, a lot of the stuff was really challenging, and I'm like, I've got to get back to this place where I used to be able to do these things or whatever. And so for me, it was originally very physically focused, but then of course it grew a lot past that.
Yeah. That's the exact same as me, actually, and I feel like I hear that so consistently, is like people coming for the physical practice and then realizing that it's so much more than the physical practice.
Yeah, definitely. It is so much more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so as soon as you were sort of into it, you decided, like, I want to share this with other people. I want to share how it makes me feel and become a teacher?
Well, once I started, I was like, I really want to do this all the time. Mm-hmm. So, and once I started practicing all the time, I'm like, I have to be able to share this with other people, like the way that it makes me feel. And once I started teacher training, I wanted to teach, but I really just wanted to learn more about it. I wanted to learn the asana more. And then, of course, you get into more of the philosophy and all of that in teacher training. And it just grew for me so much from that, because during that experience, I learned so much about myself. And I had learned a lot about myself just from practicing. But going through teacher training was really life-changing for me. And once I started teaching, I started to find this connection that I had been looking for the whole time. So not just with other people, but I was just connecting to myself, connecting to that inner voice, and being able to express that and do something that I loved, and then be able to share that with other people was so cool. And once I started teaching, I was like, I have to teach all the time. So it's just kind of been one of those things where every little bit, it's like I can't get enough. And now I'm lucky enough for it to be kind of my whole existence is yoga. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's super cool. And so you started teaching, you were working full time. What was the process like of finding jobs with like a full-time corporate job?
Yeah, well, teaching was really challenging, and especially after I moved. So when I started, I was living in Macon, Georgia, and then I was commuting up to Atlanta for teacher training. And when I started teaching in Macon, I was able to start teaching at the studio where I had been practicing. There was one of the owners was going out on maternity leave, so it worked out perfectly. At the time I was finishing teacher training, these classes were opening up that I could teach. So then I was teaching all the time, and then I realized, I want to do something else. With pretty much every aspect of my life, I need something more. I really need to pursue this passion. I need to pursue a life that really serves me, that honors what I want, since I finally found what I wanted.
Yeah.
And so then I moved to Atlanta, and when I moved to Atlanta, I don't know why, I didn't think it was going to be as hard to find at least one class or get on the sub list somewhere. And when I moved to Atlanta, I started a different corporate job, and I was in the office all the time, and was looking for a teaching job, and initially just couldn't find one. The studio, Red Hot, where I had trained, the schedule was full, so there weren't any openings for me to teach. And I got on the sub list there, but very rarely was I actually able to sub the classes, because they were mostly daytime when I was in the office, or times I wouldn't be able to make it in time from work. And so then I started looking at other places, and then finally, I got my chance at Active Soul, which, funny enough, was the first studio that I practiced at when I came to Atlanta. When I had just finished moving, I was like, I've got to go and take a yoga class somewhere before I lose my mind. And started taking with Rosalind, and I came and took her class. I didn't even know she was the owner. I didn't know anything about it. I just knew it was the closest to my apartment. And so I went and I took her class and really connected with her. And then eventually she gave me the opportunity to audition, and it just happened that they were needing a power teacher, and I was able to teach power, and then started there one class a week, and then just kind of picked up from there. Different opportunities just started presenting themselves, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. And in terms of people who are sort of in that same spot, who are looking to find jobs as a teacher, do you have any recommendations?
Practice everywhere that you want to teach, or that you think that you want to teach, because it gives you a sense of the community. It gives you a sense of the people there, the class styles there, and if it's really a fit for the way that you teach. Because I have taught at some other studios in Atlanta that have not been a good fit for me and didn't work out because I wasn't really practicing there, and I was just hungry for the opportunity. And finding something that's a good fit for you, and that is a way that you're able to teach in a way that's genuine, that you can really connect with, is what's going to resonate. And that's where the opportunities are going to come from, is you have to be able to teach in a way that is true to you, so you can connect with your students and provide that experience for them. So definitely just getting out in the yoga community, meeting people, and going to different studios and seeing where's a fit, because it always will present itself. If something is a good fit for you, if you're there, you're practicing all the time, and you put it out there, the universe always provides exactly like it should.
Yeah, I think that's a really good piece of advice. I feel like, especially when you're a newer teacher, it's easy to be like, I just want to teach.
Oh, for sure.
I'll teach anywhere, I'll teach any class. Like, it doesn't matter.
And I was definitely like that.
Yeah, I know. I was like that too when I first started. And now that I have more experience, it's like, okay, like, you know, does this studio fit with my brand? Like, do I fit with their brand, and do they fit with my brand? Because you kind of become your own personal yoga brand. Yeah,
I mean, you definitely do. And each studio is different, and they have their own styles. But important to be able to incorporate you and the way that you teach, so that it will resonate, so that you will connect. Because the students don't come to a class when they just want to be told what to do, right? They could just as easily take a class online or watch a DVD. Mm-hmm. They come for that experience. And if you're not able to teach in a way that you can connect with them, they're not really getting as much out of it.
Yeah, that's a really good reminder that there's so many. I mean, there's YouTube, there's
everything,
many online yoga things now. Like, why would somebody get in their car and drive to the space? Like, they really...
And fight Atlanta traffic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, here it's like such a nightmare to get for anywhere in the city. So, and especially if people are going to drive across the city to come to a studio.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely important to be there and be present and be with it. And I think that's why it's really important to practice wherever you're teaching, because getting connected with them and building those relationships is really important, and that's where your students are going to be able to grow.
Mm-hmm. And so you tried out a bunch of different studios and got kind of a feel for what studios sort of fit with you more so than others? Yeah,
definitely. So at first was Active Soul, and like I said, I had connected with Rosalind pretty instantly. Mm-hmm. Her sweet energy and the community over there is just really, really great.
Yeah.
They have embraced me from the beginning, though not every student has stayed with me, let's say. But from the beginning, they were open, but sometimes you're just not a fit, right? You're not a fit for every student. You're not a fit for every studio. And sometimes people don't like your style. And if they're not used to power, that's kind of something hard to put on them. Because a lot of people like to practice the way they like to practice, and they don't like change. But being able to find a place where the community is open to you and will give you a chance, and just making sure you click. So I had been practicing there. I love the vibe there, and I brought something totally different, but somehow it's worked. Mm-hmm. And I really loved being over there. And then Red Hot, of course, since I trained there, I actually started assisting under Bethany, who is my guru, my person who trained me, who is incredible. And having that opportunity to assist her class every single week helped me grow so much as a teacher, not just with the physical adjustments, which I learned a lot of adjustments, but just listening to her and working with her and seeing how she connects, how she works the room, how she speaks, how she communicates. All of that just really clicked with me, and being in that role of assisting, I think, built a lot of trust with the students. Mm-hmm. So once I started teaching there, they started coming to my class because they knew me, they were familiar with me. They trusted that if she's going to let me be her assistant, I must know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so that has been a really, really great fit for me. And then, of course, over at Westside, it was so nice having something in my neighborhood. It's right around the corner.
Yeah.
I had a great connection with Amber when I first met with her. And so that's been great. And, of course, kind of evolved into what I do off the mat as well.
Yeah.
And then same with Highland. So I had practiced there a few times and just really connected with Elsie, who's the owner over there, and really love her style. It's totally different than what I'm used to and challenges me to think outside the box to teach how I teach over there. But it's definitely made me a stronger teacher. So it's nice having a balance of all these different brands and all these different styles and still incorporate me at the same time, because it's definitely making me grow so much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. It's really cool to hear all those different experiences and how they've weaved together to kind of just make your teaching career how it is right now.
Yeah, it's so cool. And it's just funny because even now they're all so different, but they all have the same kind of underlying thing. But it's the same thing as with yoga, right? Everybody's physical body is different. Everybody's asana practice is different. Mm-hmm. People have different areas where they're tight. People have different areas where they're open. Some bodies move certain ways that others don't move as easily. And it's everything underlying all that is the same, the way that we talk to ourselves, the people that we are, that we show up on the mat. We're all connected. We're all one. So even though it's different and presented in different ways, at these different studios, it's still also connected. It's still all yoga for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's kind of how I like to think about it too.
Yeah.
And so at what point did you decide, like, I want to do this full time?
Well, once I started teaching a lot, I wanted to teach full time. And I just had to be very patient with it and keep putting that out as my intention and take as many classes and teach as many classes as I could when I wasn't working. So I was teaching every single morning, 6 a.m., going to work, teaching almost every evening because I was still assisting that Tuesday night class. And just my schedule was insane. It was wake up, yoga, go straight to work, go straight to yoga, come home, play with my dogs very briefly, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Eat, maybe, sleep, wake up, and do it again. And it was just, it got to a point where it was really intense, but I knew in my heart that there was going to be something. There was going to be that last little switch that allowed me to leave my corporate job. And it ended up being a combination of two different things. So being able to have this new opportunity at Highland when they opened their new studio. So picking up a couple more classes to supplement that. And then, of course, with the Integrated Medical Center opening and having that opportunity to be up there as well.
Yeah.
So having all those things kind of come into place, and I just told myself, okay, this is where you are. This is what you've been asking for. And are you going to have to make some sacrifices? Sure. A lot. But this is what you've asked for. So it's here. Are you going to take it or are you not going to take it? And for me, it was a no-brainer because I'm like, this is something that I've wanted. This is something that I've worked for. And I have to be able to at least try and see. And it has been amazing. So it's like a little over 2 months now. So it's been really, really cool. It's been a totally different world. But I feel like I'm finally like living my truth.
Yeah. That's really cool to hear. I'm always so inspired by people who just kind of like take a leap of faith and go for it. I think it's a lot like safer and a lot easier to stick with something that's comfortable, something that's easy,
of course,
like a corporate job.
With everything,
you've got healthcare insurance benefits, paid vacation.
Yeah, you get all kinds of stuff.
Sick days.
Yeah, all those things. But, the ability to teach and having these opportunities to work with so many people every single week makes every sacrifice worth it, And to be able to do something that I wake up in the morning and I am so excited to go do. Even waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go and teach at 6, I wake up and I'm like, I get to teach, It's so awesome. And this is my life. There are so many days where I wake up or when I come home at the end of the day and I'm just like, I don't know how this became my life, but I am so, so blessed. And thankful for every minute. And I don't know, it's like you never know if it's going to work out long term or forever or whatever, but it's been really, really great. And I feel so fortunate.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's a cool feeling to get to that place where you're like, is this actually what I do?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's been like so many times where I'm like, really? I don't have to drive and sit in traffic and go and sit in a cube and make cold calls and send all these emails and research people on LinkedIn and work on contracts, like all this stuff. And I don't have to do any of that anymore. It's just like, felt like the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders. And now I get to focus on what I'm doing and what I'm passionate about doing. And it's funny because some of my students that have taken with me for a long time, they said it was like a switch, that as soon as I left, that they said they've always loved my classes, but they're like, you're on a whole nother level. And it's because I don't have to go back and forth. I don't have to go from this thing that I love to this thing that, is what it is. And I'm going through the motions, so now I get to do what I love and what I'm passionate about all the time. And at the medical center, being able to talk to people about being healthy and doing yoga and all of these things, it's so cool that it's all connected and I can just do the things that I love now, which is great.
Yeah, that's amazing. That was really inspiring to hear. There's so many yoga teachers that I've talked to who are kind of like teaching on the side and still working full time, and they're like, I think I want to teach full time, but I don't really know how to do it. Do you have any pieces of advice for those people?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta get a plan, and you have to make sacrifices, especially in the short term. Like I said, with me teaching every single morning and every single evening before and after work, it was exhausting and it was a lot, and I knew it was going to be temporary. There's no way I could have sustained that for years at a time. But you have to make those sacrifices. You have to be willing to get up early and maybe go to bed later than you want to, and you have to work on the weekends, and you have to be committed to it, and just continue to take the opportunities and let it grow and find that point where it can make sense to take the leap, because you're never going to make up for that difference, right? If you have a good corporate job, you're not going to be able to make that up no matter how many classes you teach. It's just not physically possible. But if you have a place where you can sustain, then you can start doing that and see what other opportunities come from that. So whether it's doing more workshops or maybe you get more privates, but you have to get to a place already with your schedule where you can be and still make your ends meet. Because the last thing you want to do is make that leap, not have anything in place, and then be stressing all the time, because then you're going to bring that into your class, you know, and nobody wants that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I feel like finances is definitely the thing that like stresses people out the most, because it's like, you know, you've got so much money that you have to actually pay to continue to live somewhere and to continue to be able to eat. Like there's fixed expenses in life.
Yeah. So you got to make sure those are covered, and you may not have a lot extra. You may not have any extra, but if you can put together a plan to where you can cover your basic necessities, and definitely you have to scale back, you know, but once you can get to that place, then you can make the leap, and then you have more time to focus on really pursuing your dream with everything that you have.
Did you feel like the studio owners that at the studios that you're working at or teaching at, were they really helpful in terms of?
So helpful, so supportive, just amazing, all of them. They have really supported me and given me so many opportunities. And if I didn't have those relationships, if I didn't have that support, there is no way that I would have been able to do it on my own.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like one of the things that I hear consistently is like ask for help when you need it. And I feel like using the people who are there to support you is so important with a transition like that.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like maybe I'm wrong about this, but it's kind of how your position at the medical clinic above Westside.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because I had told Amber when I first started teaching at Westside that I wanted to teach yoga full time, and she had talked to me a lot about, you know, teaching full time and knowing so many people that taught, you know, 25 classes a week or whatever and would get burnt out. And so she saw the medical center opening as a really great complementary opportunity for me, so that I wouldn't have to be so physically exhausted, because it is hard. It's hard to teach so many classes. It's hard for your body to do that. And so just saw that as a great way to complement it, to where I had all these classes lined up, and then I could work at the medical center and do some stuff up there and kind of help out with that and help build this from the ground up, which has been really fun. Yeah. And getting, like I said, getting to do something that I stay in the realm of what I love to do. I still get to talk to people about yoga. I still get to talk to people about health and wellness and things that I'm really passionate about. So it just all fit together. And and she opened that up to me, and I'm so thankful for that, for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. I love like the synergy between like you and her and the yoga and the wellness.
Yeah, it's so cool. And it's nice to have everything over here on one place, you know, to be able to have your one-stop shop for wellness, and just to get to be a part of that and see how it's evolving and growing is really, really exciting. And it's been great. Yeah, it's been great to have the support and to have the opportunities.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so what was it actually like for you to like walk into your boss's office and be like, I'm done. Like, I'm going to teach yoga full time.
You know, I didn't actually walk into his office. I was, for the weeks leading up to turning in my notice, oh my God, I was just a ball of stress. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I wasn't sleeping good. I wasn't eating well. I was just a mess, because I'm thinking to myself, very egotistical, right? I'm thinking to myself, what are they going to do without me? Like, they need me, you know? And I've been doing all this stuff. Like, how are they going to go on? And, but when I was about to get my notice the night before, I actually called my boss, and I was like, hey, I don't want to blindside you with this tomorrow, but I'm going to be giving my notice. And ironically enough, that week we had a conversation about if I was happy. He had asked me that, if I was still happy there. And I told him, honestly, not really. You know, I said there have been a lot of things that have changed, and I'm not really here. My heart's not in it. And he understood. And so when I called him the night before, I was worried about how he was going to react, but he was very understanding, though he was like, this is going to suck because we do need you, you know? But he said he understands, and that if I have the opportunity to pursue something that I love, he's like, you should definitely do that. Because he said, for you, if money was no object, you would obviously be teaching yoga all the time.
Yeah.
And he said, for me, if money was no object, I would still be in sales. And so he's like, I get to do something that I love to do, and you know, if you have the opportunity to do that, then you have to do it. And he's like, just trust that the money will follow, or the opportunities will follow if you do the thing that you love to do, that you're really passionate about.
Yeah, that's cool. It's nice to have that support.
Yeah, because I was super worried. I mean, I didn't think he was going to be like rude about it, but at the same time, I was like, just, you know, dreading it, because you feel like you're letting somebody down, or, you know, not being there for your team, or whatever the case may be. But I was really, really glad that he responded the way he did. And so then the next day, when I actually walked into his office to give my notice, it wasn't. The weight had already been lifted, so that was good.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's nice. It's nice of you to kind of like prepare him too.
Yeah.
I know in the jobs that I've quit, it's always been like so, I don't know, it's so nerve-wracking.
Yeah, and I mean, I loved him and respected him so much. I learned a lot from him, and he was a really, really great boss. And it was hard, you know, it was hard, because I knew that I was going to be kind of leaving him in a hard position where, you know, you still have to meet certain numbers. You're in sales, right? And I was responsible for a lot of those numbers, and I knew I was going to be leaving him in that position, but we had a really great working relationship. So I was glad that he handled it the way that he did, for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Made it easier on me.
Yeah. And then what was it like, sort of like the first couple weeks after you didn't work in corporate anymore and you were just teaching yoga?
Very surreal. Very, very surreal. And even still, I'm like, it's crazy to me that it's a Friday, right? And all I'm doing today is teaching yoga all day.
Yeah.
You know? And that's it. Like, isn't that, it's so crazy that I wake up and I'm like, really? You know, I have 4 classes that I'm teaching today.
Yeah.
But then what else am I going to do? Like, I get to do as much yoga as I want. I get to take time. I get to hang out with my dogs. I get to take care of myself and do things that I love. I get to read books. I get to do all these things that I had no time for before.
Yeah.
And so it's really, really nice. So it's still very surreal for me, but it's just been so peaceful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just because you were working like, what was it, like 45 hours a week?
Yeah.
Teaching. How many classes were you teaching? 12 classes.
Yeah.
And 45 hours of corporate. That's mental.
Yeah, it was a lot.
And now how many classes are you teaching in a week?
Well, right now, temporarily I'm teaching 19, but my normal schedule I'll be at 17.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Do you feel like that's like a pretty manageable amount of classes for you?
I do. You know, people say all the time that it seems like a lot, but since I'm at all these different studios, I'm getting to teach in a variety of different ways, which is really cool and keeps it fresh for me. And also, I love it so much. It gives me so much energy. It gives me so much fulfillment, and I just feel light and love and energy, all these things when I teach. And so for me, it's a matter of, can I physically do that? And with my schedule, even though I don't have a day off, it's still nice. It's still a nice way to do it, because I still am able to do the thing that I love. And then normally I'll have a break from my Saturday morning classes all the way until my Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
So it gives me a little bit of time. And then, you know, I have breaks between classes like today. And so it's, you know, it's manageable. I think I found a schedule that works for me to be able to teach that much. So I don't have to teach all day, every single day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot, like, energetically and physically as well. Like, it's hard to, like, keep up.
Yeah, so I just have to be really careful about taking care of myself and making time for my own practice, whether it's self-practicing, whether it's taking classes, and really make that a priority in my downtime. And it's been amazing. But even my practice has changed so much since I've stopped working corporate, because I have all this time to focus on teaching and working on different poses, and then having more time to go and check out other teachers and do different things. So it's a nice balance, even though it seems like a lot. For me, I'm one of those people that goes like 1,000 miles an hour all the time. So it's a good balance for me.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I think it's really important for people to know that it's like, there's no magic number.
Right. No, there's not. And, you know, some people, like 10 is enough. And if you can do it on 10 classes and that's where you feel like you're tapped out, then that's where you should be. It's one of those things, like, don't try to take more than you can because you don't want to burn yourself out. And I know a lot of people that have done that have taught too many classes and just worn out. And that's something that I'm very sensitive to and that I'm very aware of. So I spend a lot of time thinking about, okay, can I really do this or not? And there are some things where I've had to say no, where I would like to say yes, but there have been things where I've had to say no because I'm like, I've got to still save this time for me to go practice, for me to go take this class or whatever it is. I have to save that time, and I just have to be aware of taking care of myself first, or otherwise I'm no good to my students.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about anyway.
I think it's really important for people to remember that, because it's like, the more you take on, if you're coming to classes and you're exhausted and you're not taking care of yourself, you become resentful of that thing that you were once really passionate about. And if you show up and you're resentful to be there, like, your students will maybe not pick up on it directly, but it's sort of this, like,
they feel it for sure. They feel it in your energy. There is a huge exchange of energy. And if you show up and you are not where you need to be, they'll know, they'll feel that. And then you've hurt that opportunity for them to do yoga. And that's something that is very, very important to me. Whether I have one person in a class or I have 50 people in a class, if it's 6 a.m., if it's 6 p.m., I don't care when it is. I need to show up with my game face on and be ready to give them that experience and be there 100% and be present and have the energy and have the focus. And that is definitely my main priority. So whatever I have to do to take care of myself to be able to do that is my number one priority for sure.
Yeah, that's really good to remember. I think there's a lot of, like, talk in sort of the full-time yoga world about, like, yoga teacher burnout, and I know that it's really common where people like jump in, they teach too much, they burn out, and then they have to really pull back, and then you end up in this really bad financial situation because you can't teach anymore.
Right.
What sort of advice do you have for people who are kind of diving in and teaching a lot in terms of taking care of yourself? And
try to do it gradually. So one of the benefits of me teaching so much while I was in corporate was I got used to teaching a lot of classes. I got used to teaching 12 classes a week and working 45 hours a week in an office job. So I was used to teaching that much. And so for me, losing that corporate job and taking 5 more classes and then working at the medical center is like nothing. That's like a very easy exchange. But it took me a long time to build up the energy to be able to do that in a sustainable way. So to be able to teach like that, because I wasn't originally teaching 5, 6 a.m. classes, right? I had to do it over time, and I built that up, and I knew I was pushing myself when I got towards the end, but I had to do it because I knew, one, I have to build up the stamina to be able to teach, because it takes a lot. It does. It takes a lot of energy. Your voice has to be trained to talk that much. Your body has to be trained to be able to move and teach and adjust and do all of those things that you have to do. And it's like, it's a marathon, you can't just go out there and run 26.2 miles, right? You can, I guess, but you burn out, right? If you would try to do that, you would be spent. You'd probably be losing your toenails, you'd be,
injured,
you'd injure yourself, something would happen, you'd probably be dehydrated, you'd probably strain something, and it's the same thing with teaching. So just gradually build up and really be honest and check in with yourself, like, how are you really feeling? Do you really feel like you can continue to do that? And that's something that I've been very, very aware of, and I've had to adjust some other things. You have to make sacrifices with your free time, and you have to be, nutrition is extremely key. And so when you do it gradually, you kind of understand, because you have to eat a lot. I have to eat all the time. And If you're not used to that, then you start teaching all these classes and you don't know how to fuel your body in the right way to keep your energy up and to keep your body functioning in that way. You will burn out for sure. So just try to do it as gradually as possible and take the time to get in touch with yourself. So through your own self-practice, through continuing to practice, because you see that a lot where teachers teach all the time and they never even practice.
Totally.
But you got to make that time for yourself. You have to have time for silence. You have to have time, like I said, to read or to be still or to meditate or whatever it is that gets you in your zone to where you can really connect with you. You can connect with how you feel and honestly evaluate, hey, is this something that I can really do, or am I pushing myself too hard? And not judge yourself, whatever the answer is, be open and either make adjustments or don't push yourself any further,
Yeah, I think you hit on something really key there is like, teaching, because we said there's no magic number. It's like everyone's different based on what they're capable of doing for assortment of different reasons. And it's like, if you jump in and start teaching, 15 to 20 classes and it's not working for you, you haven't failed.
Right.
It's just, you need to just readjust your schedule. You need to change what you're doing. Maybe you get something part-time on the side to supplement your teaching.
And it takes a lot. And luckily I'm pretty high energy all the time. And for me, like I said, teaching is something that gives me so much energy and so much joy that I really feel that every time that I show up to teach. And so I don't feel depleted. And there maybe there will come a time where I can't do this, right? Luckily I'm still decently young. So now I'm in really great physical shape, probably better physical shape than I've ever been in my life. I'm definitely stronger than I've ever been in my life, but I'm taking better care of myself than I ever have too. And you have to do that. So whatever that means, whether it's taking a rest, and sometimes you do, sometimes you have to get a sub, you have to take a day off, you have to go practice, you have to be still, whatever it is, but just getting really in touch with that and listening to that and not feeling bad about it. You have to, if you're living your truth is, hey, you got to take care of yourself. You got to take a break. It's not, you don't have to force it. You don't have to force yoga. You don't have to force teaching. You don't have to force any of it. It'll work however it's supposed to work. But you have to just stay in touch with that and stay open. Because it may not be, right? It may not be for everyone to teach all the time. But you just have to be open and aware and trust. And you can adjust from there.
Yeah, I love that. I think, too, something that I've found as a teacher is when I teach a lot, sometimes I need to go do something else. Like maybe it's like I don't practice in a day where I teach 3 classes. It's maybe I go for a hike or a walk or a run or, a swim or a different sort of like physical exercise to move my body, because it's like I actually can't think about yoga anymore. Yeah,
you have to be stimulated in other ways, and of course yoga is a great physical practice, and that's mainly all what I do as far as physical, but there are some things with yoga. So like I went rock climbing for the first time ever, and I was like, this is so hard. And I like to think like, hey, I'm pretty strong. This shouldn't be that hard. It's the grip strength, and because in yoga you're always pushing, and in climbing you're pulling. So it's a different action and different muscles, and so it's good to mix it up and just change the scenery. Like get outside, do something that inspires you. Not watch a bunch of yoga videos or read some yoga blogs. Like that's inspiring too, but do something else. Like get into your creative realm. So whatever that means for you.
Yeah. I think that's really good for people to remember. I think sometimes there's like, there's like almost like a guilt around, I haven't practiced, I really should practice. And it's like, well, if you've already taught a bunch and you kind of don't want to think about yoga anymore, you can go do something else.
Yeah. It's like you choose what you do.
Yeah.
So do you, whatever that really is, because that's where you connect to that place that's real, and that's what comes through in your teaching. If you're forcing things off the mat, it's going to feel forced in your class, and that's just the way it is, because it's also connected. Everything is connected. So if you're forcing things, trying to make something work or trying to do things that you don't really want to do, it comes through. So you have to listen to that voice that says, hey, I don't want to do this, and it's okay. It's okay to say no. You don't have to do anything. So just remembering that is very important for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Because we put so much pressure on ourselves for no reason, you know?
Yeah, it's like a weird human thing.
Yeah, of course. It's the ego, it's fear of not being good enough, fear of, failure or whatever it is, it's all rooted in these low level frequency emotions. So, like jealousy, frustration, whatever, anxiety, stress, all these pressures that we put on ourselves as opposed to coming from that higher frequency of love. And if you live in a way that you're making your decisions based on love for yourself, love for the people around you, then everything falls into place and you realize that it's really easy.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
Yeah.
We make it hard because we add all these other things. But if you just follow that alignment and get everything working together, follow that vision of love and peace and happiness and make your decisions and act according to that, then it all comes together perfectly.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's really beautiful. I'm curious, like teaching as much as you do, what's like the pre-class planning like for you?
That does not exist for me.
Yeah.
I know a lot of teachers do plan all their classes, but I actually never plan my classes. Sometimes I'll plan peak poses or certain body parts that I want to work on. But I first started teaching and I did plan, and I had a girl come in for a beginner's class that had a disability and wasn't going to be able to, there was no way she was going to be able to do the sequence that I had planned. And I didn't want her to have an experience where she never wanted to take yoga again because of me, because I wasn't willing to adjust and I wasn't willing to make modifications to this plan that I had set. And so since then, I haven't planned my classes. But what I really like to do is I like to really watch people as they move through the warm-up and see where they look tight or see where they're holding tension and see how they're moving their body, and then come up with the poses and incorporate from there. Like, okay, people are looking really tight into their chest, as they move through their up dog, they're trying to rush the up dog, or in down dog. People's heels are nowhere close to the mat. They're kind of shifting around, like uncomfortable, trying to get out of the hamstrings, get out of the hips. And so I try to be very in tune with that so that I can do a class that's about what the students need, not about what I need or what I want to teach.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that that's a really good way to teach. And I know it's really hard when you first start teaching because there's so much going on and you're thinking about what to cue and how it's going to go and thinking about one side and the other. And I think that, for your first couple of classes, it's okay to plan if you need a piece of paper.
Yeah, and it's great to have like a reference point or something, and kind of a loose sequencing framework. But I think it is important to be in tune with your students because it is not about you when you're a teacher, ever. It is about them 100%, and making that your focus and not doing something because you want to do something a certain way, because every time you show up it's different. You don't know who all's going to come to class, right? Once you teach for a while and you have regulars, you have an idea. But if you have a bunch of people that have never done yoga before and you have this sequence with all these challenging poses, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You can continue to teach them and then they'll be frustrated and then the students won't benefit from it. They'll want to leave. They may never come back.
Yeah.
And that is not at all what it's about. It's about making it accessible to all people, because that's what it is. Yoga is union. It's unity. It's one. Connecting everything together and trying to force something, same thing, trying to force your sequence, force these poses that you want to teach. That doesn't work either.
Yeah, I think that that's good for people to remember. And I know that it's like, if you're like sort of like more type A, it's really hard to let go of that plan. Like I
used to be very type A. But yoga has changed that for me totally.
Yeah, it's nice to just like come in there and be confident that once you've taught for a while and you've just got to like do it, trust that you can do it.
Yeah, and you do, and if you practice a lot, too.
Yeah, definitely. And so what's next for you with your career?
Just this right now, I'm so excited. I have a lot of workshops coming up. I have a lot of events coming up. So that's really been my focus is, of course, I have my classes that I love, but doing some different things because I'm really trying to challenge myself as a teacher. So trying to do workshops that challenge me, where back bending is easy. So of course I have a couple back bending workshops, but things that have been really hard for me, like arm balancing. And now I have an arm balancing workshop that I'm teaching. In August. I'm teaching a core workshop in July. I have the Dirty South Yoga Fest, which I'm super excited to be teaching at, and that's in August too. So just planning those things, and then also as my Caron Yoga brand, planning my own events. So kind of like my birthday event that I had, and doing more stuff like that really gets all my students connected in one place. And that's more of like a party that is something that is totally me. And I think that that's important because my students connect with me so much, and I want them to know me, not me at a studio or me under some other brand. I really want them to be able to genuinely connect because I get to do that with them. And I want to be able to bring that and let them all connect with each other too, and provide experiences to do that in a way that's really fun and things that they want to do.
Yeah, I think that that's really cool. I like that that's sort of like the next step for you. Like festival, workshops. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Yeah, I'll definitely put a link for your website and everywhere where people can find you in show notes and stuff. One last question for you. If you could give Caron, when you first started teaching a couple of years ago, one piece of advice that you know now that you didn't know then, what would that piece of advice be?
The same advice I would have given Caron when I first started practicing yoga, which would be, don't be so hard on yourself. Because I would beat myself up if I said the wrong thing, if I said the wrong, body part, or if I said left when I should have said right, or if I missed something in the sequence. I was very, very hard on myself, and that doesn't do anybody any good. And just let things happen and just be. It all works out exactly as it should. So just trusting that and releasing all that other stuff because it's not working. And when you stop worrying about that, that's when the magic happens when you teach. That's when you start to create these great sequences. That's when you really get connected because you get out of your head and you get into your heart.
Yeah, and it lets your students know too that like you're just a human being who's going through some poses. I feel like people really relate to people who are real. Like it makes them feel like, if you say the wrong body part or the wrong side or something, it reminds them like, okay, it's okay for me to not be perfect because they're not perfect either.
Definitely.
Like none of us are perfect.
No, of course. And just like be wherever you are, and that's cool. That's more than enough, always.
Awesome. So. Do you have any more pieces of advice for anyone who's looking to quit their job and become a full-time teacher?
Just trust yourself and continue to put it out there and continue to pursue your dream and make that your priority. If that's really what you want, it will happen. And trust and be patient and surround yourself with people that inspire you and support you in that dream.
Cool. I love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. This has been really fun.
Yeah, this is awesome. All right, so there's the episode with Caron, and just to recap the couple places that she teaches at in the city, you can find her in Atlanta and in sort of the Georgia area, and she teaches at Active Soul, Red Hot Yoga, Westside Yoga, and Highland Yoga at the Grant Park location, and I'll put links to all of those on the show notes at www.mbomyoga.com. You can also find more information about Caron on her personal website, so it's caronyoga.com, and Caron is spelled Caron. There'll also be a link for that on the show notes. And you can also find her on Instagram. She's great about posting some really cool videos and photos of her progression with her own practice, as well as things that inspire her in the yoga world, which is always really cool to see. And if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, please feel free to send me an email at info@mbomyoga.com. I'd love to hear from you. You can join the community on Facebook at Mastering the Business of Yoga and on Twitter and Instagram at Amanda Kingsmith. And as always, thank you so much for listening, and namaste.